Neil and I would keep in touch throughout the years, and but I never, yeah, I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I was like, oh, I guess it's to play Abby. That's really interesting, and I didn't know that they had like also. It was sort of like a meeting to talk about. They want me to
Yeah,
play
right.
there's no there wasn't like I thought I was going to read or do a thing, and it was
Right.
just like, no, we want you to play Abby, and that was also like really shocking to me too. I was just like, what's going on? What's happening?
Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, sad, confused begins now.
Hey guys, it's Josh. Welcome to another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Last of Us fans, this one's for you. Kaitlyn Dever, Abby herself, is the guest today. That's right. Kaitlyn Dever is back on the podcast, one of our great young actors out there. And not only that, but she is starring in an iconic show, in an iconic role. Abby in The Last of Us Season 2. This conversation coming up in just a bit is going to cover what happens in episode 2. So, spoiler warnings. If you have not seen that episode, this episode is probably not for you. If you do not know the events of the second game, The Last of Us, this episode might not be for you. I'm going to warn you guys again, but there I said it. Choose wisely. Before we get to that, new event to announce. Very excited to say I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm sure a lot of you guys are. So we're going to dive into Andor May 14th with Tony Gilroy. Tony Gilroy, brilliant writer, brilliant director, brilliant showrunner for Andor. This is his baby. It's going to be a live event, 92nd Street Y in New York City, and it's going to be, I believe it's literally like the day or two right after the finale of season 2 of Andor. So there's going to be a lot to talk about. If you love Star Wars coming out, tickets are available. They just went on sale. The link is in the show notes, all that fun stuff. As always, early access, the first announcements of all these things, bonus materials, all that jazz. Patreon.com/happy sad confused is your friend. Please try to support us there if you can. It just helps us make more cool stuff over here. Okay. I'm going to throw to our main event, which is Kaitlyn Dever. So Kaitlyn is I've always been a fan of Kaitlyn's. She's just can do everything as far as I'm concerned. Whether it's book smart, Detroit Ticket to Paradise. I mean, unbelievable apple cider vinegar earlier this year on Netflix. If you haven't seen that, check that out. She can do drama, she can do comedy, she can sing. Big fan if you can't tell. And now with a really juicy role on The Last of Us. You guys know Abby is a choice part, a controversial figure in the game and the series. As far as I'm concerned, and I've seen a bit of this new season, she is amazing, as I would expect she would be in this. And I will also say this conversation, in addition to covering spoilers for episode 2 in particular, is a very open and emotional conversation. Kaitlyn lost her mom a little over a year ago, and the timing of that very sad, tragic loss is insane, as you'll hear straight from Kaitlyn, occurring right around when she shot this episode and a scene in particular. I'll let her tell the story, but so yeah, this is, a a fun episode at times, but it's also an emotional episode to hear Kaitlyn tell that story. So I want to give you guys a heads up on that. But I'm very proud of this conversation. I always love catching up with Kaitlyn. She's a world away in Australia shooting the new Godzilla King Kong movie. So I'm very appreciative of her taking the time out from that hectic shoot to come back on the podcast. Okay. Spoiler warning again. I'm going to keep saying it. The Last of Us. Here we go. Kaitlyn Dever and I talking all things episode 2. Watch it, or this might ruin things for you. I'm pointing at you. If you have watched that episode, if you know the events of The Last of Us 2, proceed ahead and enjoy this conversation with Kaitlyn Dever. Look, she's halfway around the world. We have crappy internet, but none of this is going to stop the love I have for Kaitlyn Dever, her performances on Apple Cider Vinegar and The Last of Us. It's good to see you, my friend. How you doing?
No, it's so good to see you too. I'm doing all right. How are you doing? It's been far too long since I've
Had
seen
the
you
real thing.
last.
Yeah, well, no, you saw
I
me. We
know.
saw each other very briefly at the Last of Us premiere. You were threatening to stab me in the eye,
Oh, yes,
but that wasn't.
but
That
in a
wasn't.
formal way.
Yes, this is the formal deep dive. Welcome back to the podcast. You are. It should be said you're back in Australia, and
Yes.
you're doing checking another thing off the bucket list. I would expect you're just getting started on a ginormous Godzilla King Kong movie. How's it going?
It's going well. Again, I feel like I'm in such spoiler territory lately. I can't say anything about anything. Um, but yeah, we started shooting not too long ago, and it's been, yeah, just really exciting new, a totally new sort of world genre that I kind of
Mm.
haven't done this, like, you know, type of action packed big movie like this before. So it's yeah, it's great. I love everyone I'm working with, and um yeah, I can't stay away from Australia.
Right. So
I'm always here.
you obviously shot apple cider vinegar there. You're practically a Hemsworth by now, basically.
I mean, I feel like I'm a Hemsworth. Yeah. I'm a
What
brother. I'm a Hemsworth brother.
you're the lost
Hemsworth brother.
Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Are you shooting in the same part of, I mean, Australia is not exactly the smallest country on the planet, but are you staying around where you were for apple cider vinegar, or are you exploring new parts of the country?
New parts where, like, kind of where I was. We shot Ticket to Paradise on an island, or most of the shoot was on an island.
Oh, right. Did that one
Um,
too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, this is the third project I've done here now.
Crazy. Take me,
Yeah,
take me with you. I'd like to escape myself. Is there room for another
I
one?
mean, yeah, I'd love to take you. It's I mean, I'm high on those Delta miles, you know what I'm saying?
You're beyond my silver medallion status, I have a feeling.
It's so far. You are really so far when you're here. It's crazy. You can really feel it too, but it's such a beautiful place. But yeah, I'm in a similar area that I was when I did Ticket to Paradise. Apple Cider Vinegar was shot in Melbourne, which I also really enjoyed. It's a lot like a mixture between LA and New York.
Gotcha. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's just get right into it. Let's start talking Last of Us. I've seen a bunch of episodes. I've already put in some spoiler warnings for folks. We are going to get into some definite spoiler territory. You guys have had a few days to see episode 2, so we'll get into some of the amazing pivotal events in that episode. But before we even get into that stuff, educate me. I know this, but tell me how deep the gamer roots are within you. Not even just for The Last of Us, but did you grow up generally a gamer?
Not really, honestly. I had, like, Mario, Super Mario or whatever it was, the one on the
Yeah,
gray console thing.
yeah, yeah. Super Mario Brothers or Mario
This
Kart.
is,
There are a lot of Marios out
yeah.
there.
Oh, I played Mario Kart with the Wii.
Right.
I think this is really showing my non-gamer roots.
I'm like 20 years
Um,
older than you. You're sounding really ancient right now, just so you know.
I mean, well, I had that console. I think it was like like it was passed down. Like, I think it was my dad's or something. He
Yeah.
let us play with it. But anyway, I've played, like, my dad is the gamer,
Right.
and I've played like an occasional, you know, PS4 game with him along throughout the years. And then when The Last of Us came out, my dad got it and we played it together. And then throughout playing that game, and then there was talk about The Last of Us becoming a movie. And then I met Neil Druckmann a couple of times to potentially play Ellie when they were making a movie. And then once that, that obviously, as movie making goes, it sort of disappeared for a long time. And then The Last of Us 2 came out, and I played like halfway into playing Abby. And then I was like, Dad, this is I'm not a good gamer also. I'm really not, but I can appreciate, especially a game like The Last of Us, because I've played other games with him and there's nothing that really compares to The Last of Us. And I think that that's why I was so, like, drawn to it, was because it felt like, oh, this is a different game that he's playing. This feels like
Right.
I'm like watching a film or something. And the storyline is so beautiful and um, complex, and it just stood out to me when I was playing it with him. But yeah, the second game, it's so long, and it's also I'm just not good at playing.
Tell me that. Okay, so tell me, go back to me for a second on those early conversations you had with Neil. Like, did you allow yourself?
Yeah,
I mean, this is kind of the thing, actors get invested in characters even through conversations or auditions, and you let your mind race and you start to like almost imagine yourself in the role. Like, how far down that road did you get in your mind about playing Ellie in a Last of Us film?
I think it was so exciting to even be a part of that kind of conversation when I was that young. I think I was like 16 or 17. And, you know, I think it just really felt like a big deal.
Yeah.
And what I remember, like the highlights of that time were just like going to Naughty Dog, like headquarters, I guess, and walking around with Neil and him showing me how the game is made. And I like really remember all of those details. And he even showed me at one of our, I think we only really like, in the grand scheme of things, I think we only had like two meetings.
Mhm.
And the second meeting, I really remember him showing me like parts of The Last of Us 2 when it was like early days of getting made, which was pretty crazy. And he told me what happens, which was also crazy. I've been sitting with this secret for so long. I
It's
still
basically Neil and you have known this for 12 years.
know. So that was just, yeah, I've been holding this in my entire life. No, but I never like had the role of Ellie. It was never like,
Right.
okay, it was like a for sure thing. But I was just excited to, know him and learn from him. And we did one table read, and um, and then that's all that really I mean, that's it. That's really like the extent of where it got, I think, in the process. Yeah, the it was really just like a couple meetings with him, and sort of
Yeah.
months long conversations about, oh, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? And it obviously,
Right.
didn't end up happening. But I was just thrilled to then know Neil, because then, um, not long after I knew that the movie wasn't happening, he asked me to do Uncharted 4, which was
Right.
a super cool experience. But yeah, it was never like I never had the role, or it was never like ever an official, like none of it was
Right.
official. So but it still was, yeah, it was still a part of my life. And it was still like, we would talk about it at the dinner table, and with my family, and it's been a part of my life for so long, and it was something I always thought about. And then when the show came out, I just thought Bella and their portrayal of Ellie was just so brilliant, and the show is so brilliant. I was like, wow, it really ended up, it's so special. I was hoping it would do something and get made one day, and then for it to come full circle back into my life, it really just, yeah, it was pretty surreal.
So when I had Craig on the podcast, he's been on the podcast a couple times, most recently for the new season, and we talked about your casting, and to hear him say it, he says that's kind of towards the end of the run of the first episodes of the first season. He and Neil started to have the conversation. Okay, it's time to talk about Abby, and your name came up, and it was sort of one of these things where it's like they all were saying Kaitlyn, and
Yeah.
then that was kind of self-evident. If everybody was thinking that way, this is the way to go. Is the timeline jibe with your memory? Like, was the show on the air when Neil and Craig came to you?
The show was the show was on the air. It had finished. I think I had seen the whole show. I had seen the whole season. Um, yeah, I had seen the whole, like all of season one, And I didn't hear a peep from them about any of that. So the fact that it was happening while they were still shooting it is kind of crazy. I did not hear a word from them. And then I think
Did
it
now
was
did you have in the back of your brain like Abby at this point? Like had your mind shifted towards Abby?
not at all.
Not at
No,
all.
I was just like, show's out, cool. It's
They did a
awesome.
great
I'm a big
job.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I genuinely was just like a big fan of the show.
Yeah.
Had no clue that I was even being considered for Abby at the time. And then I got a meeting set with Neil and Craig. And Neil and I would keep in touch throughout the years, and but I never, yeah, I hadn't seen him in a long time. And I was like, oh, I guess it's to play Abby. That's really interesting. And I didn't know that they had like also, it was sort of like a meeting to talk about, they want me to
Yeah,
play
right.
there's no, there wasn't like, I thought I was going to read or do a thing. And it was
Right.
just like, no, we want you to play Abby. And that was also like really shocking to me too. I was just like, what's going on? What's happening? And I distinctly remember the timeline being around. I ran into Bella at the Met, and I introduced myself, and I was like, hey, I have a meeting, or no, she like I think it was no, I said I had a meeting with Craig, and they were like, yeah, we've been they told me. I was like, okay.
Everybody knows about
It's
this
all
but
very
me.
tight-lipped.
Was anybody going to tell
I
me?
know everyone's talking about it. So yeah, I had my meeting, and I was like, it's great. Yeah, sign me up. There was no like hesitation. It was just like, it was a really nice meeting. Neil and I were catching up. I was getting to know Craig, and they were just, telling me all about how the first season went. And I was so, so game for it. It was like kind of a dream come true. But yes, yeah, again, very, very surreal. I was like, whoa, I guess this was always like meant to be in my life in some sort of way. It
Yeah.
just found its way back to me in a really interesting way. So cool.
So, do you remember what you thought of Abby playing the game initially, and how that judgment, connection, or lack of has evolved now, having gone through the motions of some of the deeds that she's done in this new season?
Yes, yes. I remember being just as shocked as obviously I think everyone who's played this game was when they first played the game. I couldn't. I think it was like my dad was like, "Here, you gotta." He gave me the controller. He had already played that scene. He's like,
Yeah.
"Just here you go." It's like I couldn't. I was so shocked because she does just sort of come out of nowhere. And I remember being really heartbroken. I'm like, okay, how do we go on? How do I go on? And then all of a sudden you're playing as Abby, and it's a real um, like shift in point of view in like a really interesting way, because for a while I was like, the way it's cut in the game, like the scene happens, and then all of a sudden you're playing as this person that kind of resembles Ellie to
Right.
me. Like that was my first reaction. I was like, is this Ellie? Is this like what is this? And it took me a while to figure out, obviously, that it's not Ellie and then it's Abby. But I really loved how they did that in the game, um, where those two characters are kind of really like mirrors of each other in so many ways.
Right. You talk about the circuitous nature of this and how it kind of came to you when it did, and there's something about fate in there, etc. You could say it also should be said, and you have my profound condolences about the loss of your mom that occurred really right around by the timeline, I think right around when you were starting to shoot
Hmm.
this series. And look, I mean, anybody that knows anything about Abby knows that this is a character motivated by grief, by profound grief, and how she reacts to that grief is questionable, but it's real.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, give me a sense of like, I mean, I don't even know what the question is, except that like you're going through
Yeah.
all of this real stuff at the time that you're dealing with this extremely, I don't know, resonant character, I would imagine, to your real life circumstances.
Hmm. Yeah. I, yeah, it was such when I think back on the time, it was like such a, like so much of it is so blurry. I think I have talked to a lot of like a lot of my friends who have also lost someone very close to them. They're feel like we all share that experience of just like total fog and like memory loss in a lot of ways. Um, but leading up to the shoot, uh, I think I was probably, I can't remember like what time of year it was. If it, well, if we were using the Met as a starting point, from that point,
Right.
I don't know. It's like, what is it? May, I think. Yeah, May.
Yeah.
So it was a year before I shot. I ended up starting the shoot. So what was cool is that my mom got to know about me getting the role.
Yeah.
She got to be a part of those conversations. She was so excited about it. Like she was really like I could. It was one of those moments like where I could really feel like my my parent was like very proud of me, and it was I can like it's a feeling I go back to a lot, and a memory that I have of just you know um, that I'm I hold it very very close to my heart, that memory, and just and remember it very deeply. And then yeah, her health started to decline around December, and then January, like mid January, I had to go. This is all very confusing, but January I had to finish like my last 10 days on apple cider vinegar. So I was shooting apple cider vinegar from October to January of 2023,
Yeah.
2024.
No,
Whatever year I shot The Last of Us, which was last year.
you're
Oh
excused
God.
for having
I
a fog because this is a lot. A lot.
No, but the timeline is like, yeah, it was pretty just, yeah, it was just a whirlwind of like just a whirlwind of a time. But
Yeah.
I remember going from apple cider vinegar to then like having to go prep in Vancouver for like 3 days, like do fittings and stuff. And then I went back and I was in the hospital with my mom throughout February, and I was having to go back up to Vancouver a couple of times. Um, I yeah randomly asked for days off. Or not days off, but just like I wanted to fly home for Valentine's Day weekend,
Sure.
and that was when she passed, and we were all together and all home, and I yeah her and we had her funeral, and then 3 days after her funeral, I had to fly back up to shoot my first day, which was the scene.
What?
It was the big, that was my first day on set, um, which, you know, I had a whole monologue, just, it was just so, I can't, like, thinking back on that time, I can't even comprehend, where I was at even now, or I hadn't processed anything. I was just sort of floating through set, through life. And, um, but there was a moment in time where I was just like, I can't go. Like, I need my family to stay here. I'm scared to go up there by myself and, you know, do this thing that my mom was so excited about. And it was, I remember it being a really tough moment in Like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I have it in me to do it. And I think it was thinking about, specifically, there was one moment when my mom was still in the hospital, and I was up in Vancouver and I was doing like combat training, and they would put these, like the stunt team would put together these really cool edited like iPhone videos of like a compilation of all of the things I was learning how to do. And they
Mhm.
put it to this like really intense, like cool music. And I, of course, snuck it to my parents. I probably was not allowed to do that, but I sent it to them. And my dad told me that it, which, you know, she said that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was just like a simple little thing and simple video, but like I kept going back to that and just like how I, you know, sort of, I did all of this for her. Like I
Yeah.
did all of it to make her proud. And so that's what kept me going. And I can't even begin to tell you how taken care of I was by this group of wonderful people. They were so respectful. They were so accommodating. They ended up like flying my family out to come and stay with me, and they, it just like the whole, just, it's such a wonderful group of people. And I remember talking to my dad about it, and I was just like, I really, I just love all of these people so much,
Yeah.
and how sweet they all are, and how sweet they've been. Um, and my dad was like, yeah, I don't know if it were any other job, what it would have been like, because you know, if the timing had worked out and you were in a different job, like, I don't know how this would have, just don't know how this would have been for you. But the fact that it was, you know, they were all so, um, like caring and kind and supportive of, you know, me, and just, uh, yeah, I can't even really believe it. I can't even really put it into words how they made me feel and how taken
Yeah.
care of I felt. So
I did not
yeah.
realize the time when I'm blown away. I mean, and I really connect on a number of levels. I mean, in a totally different way. Like my dad passed in 2020, and I remember,
I'm
um,
so sorry.
no, I appreciate that, and I, I remember like not I did a Zoom interview that night with George Miller, and I didn't want to cancel it because, and I remember talking to, like, you know, you're in that other fugue state, and I remember talking to him about
Yes.
like how, like, a lot of what I do is because of the love of film that my dad had, and how like I felt like honoring him in a way to continue
Mm.
to do the work. And I in my own small way, I hear you, and, you know, wanting to carry on the work, and finding your happy place, which is not just family, but the work you do. And I'm so happy that Neil and Craig created a safe place for you in that
Yeah.
circumstance. It's crazy. Um, so coming, so that scene. Okay, so obviously by now everybody knows what
Now we're there.
now everybody knows what that scene is. So the it's like I feel like we're both like, can we even say what happened? We can say what happened because people by now know.
We can say
Yeah. So obviously this is Joel's death, and it is just such a traumatic event to watch in both the game and in this remarkable scene between all of you, in the show. What happens after? Like, is there a period of, I don't know, do you and Pedro get drinks? Like, is there like a mourning period? Just give me a sense of the aftermath of shooting that remarkable sequence.
Oh, the aftermath was, um, what did we do? I mean, I think it just, you could sense the shift, I guess, in really like the crew, you know, behind Video Village, because I was able to watch, like, I was able to watch the monitor for the Ellie Joel moment at the very end of that whole
Yeah.
sequence. And that that was really like that
Yeah.
really really got me. And you could feel, yeah, you could feel a shift. um so it's, you know, a lot of the same crew from season one, and they they've just spent so much time. I mean, Bella and Pedro have such a beautiful relationship that is so, um, it's just really a special thing to sort of get to witness in person
Yeah.
and see that love in real life. It's really real. um, and it just was just so heartbreaking. And I think, yeah, it was just sort of you could feel this like end of an era in a lot of ways. Um, for the characters specifically and their journey together in the show and in the story, but also just this sort of family that they had created. And I definitely know what that feeling feels like. And for
Yeah.
him to now not be a part of the story is definitely, heartbreaking for so many reasons. But it was really sad. That's they only did it a few times, that last moment that she just holds his body, and that it just it was really intense to watch. Um,
For you
but
as an
yeah,
actor,
they just did a beautiful job.
yeah. Like, are you able, like, when I was watching that scene, like, when the tear comes for you, like, is that like something that like just happens, or is it like, are you in control of your own instruments enough that like I want the tear to come at this point? Can you do that, or is it just sort of like if it comes, it comes?
I feel like it's so different each job.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it's so different on every job. But like doing that in particular, yeah, the writing was so good that, and I had to do that chunk of like the big monologue
Right.
part, like a lot. I had to do it many times because there were so many different angles to get, and I wanted to, do it, full on every single time. And I just remember it feeling so real, and remembering sort of those emotions and those feelings being so raw for me that uh, I really, you know what, I will say this too, like those 2 days, I just really felt my mom, and I don't know if you have this experience at all, but I just really felt her in like a bigger way. And I felt like I was being sort of carried through, and I was just sort of allowing whatever
Right.
there was. I was just allowing for that to happen, and sort of just going with the flow.
Yeah.
And when the dialogue is that good, it's sort of just, you just sometimes just have to let that breathe.
Right.
And um, but yeah, the tears, I feel like they were coming at different times every time,
I
every
can
day.
imagine. Sure. No, I get it.
Yeah, but that
Uh,
scene was shot over 2 days.
that's
It's a big,
quite a headspace to be
yeah.
in. That's crazy. So we're taping this before, obviously, people the world has seen the episode. Like, are you going to be going on Reddit, like on social media, because people are going to talk?
Yeah. Well, how am I supposed to I'm just gonna put my phone away, just gonna set it aside, and I'm gonna watch Gilmore Girls for the weekend. No, I'm certainly gonna be looking at it all, and yeah, I can't not
Of course,
stay away
of course.
from it.
I mean, are you curious? Like, I mean, like, and Craig said this to me, like, obviously he casts you as Abby not just for this part of the arc, but where she goes and how she does, develop and turn into a bit of a protagonist. And that's quite a journey, considering what we see in episode 2.
Mhm.
Um, Talk to me a little bit about I don't know what that journey has been like so far for you and what's to come in the next season. And I mean, that's a challenge to start at this place, essentially, of betraying an audience and murdering in cold blood the most beloved actor slash character on television, and then to
Yeah,
somehow earn the trust of an audience and empathy. Um,
right. No, I've definitely thought about that. It's definitely crossed my mind. No, I think that the way that they have structured the show so far is obviously different from the game in that I feel like we're given a little bit more context to Abby and who she is, where she comes from, what drives her. In the game, we don't get any of that. So it's instantly, and I was even just like, who the who who is this? And this is just like an awful person that's come in
right,
and killed Joel.
right,
And with the show, it they've definitely set it up in a different way, which I think is helpful for exactly what you're um, referring to, which is just allowing people to see what is driving her and be able to see a little bit more how that grief um, is sort of the thing that leads her to, I guess, getting to that goal that she sets for herself in episode one. Um, and I think that is important for her journey. And again, I when I was prepping for the role, you start to really think about uh, everything that makes up who she is, and again how deeply angry she is, and she's also a very broken person. And but when I was doing the prep and really contemplating how I wanted to, play her, sort of dawned on me that like she's not all that different from a lot of the other people in this world and in this game, in the world of this game. So um, I think people will get to see that and recognize that as this the season goes on. Um, but yeah, I don't know what I've yeah, we just got picked up for season three, so it's a whole it's a long journey ahead, and I'm
yeah.
excited for
It,
it.
is there now that it's official? I mean, not that, I mean, obviously, of course, there was going to be another season, but it's official.
Yeah.
Is there a specific scene, part of the character moment that you're excited that you haven't covered yet from the game that you hope is covered in what Neil and Craig come up with in season three?
Oh gosh. Um, I mean, yeah, I have no idea what their plan is at all, really. I have no idea how they're going to structure anything. I guess I'm just, yeah, I'm excited to like get to some like perhaps like more flashback stuff that could be exciting, and also get into like more Abby and Owen dynamic. I think that is a really interesting part of the game, but I have no idea what they have planned,
Right.
and I'm also scared to say anything.
That's okay. It's okay.
Just
Um,
scared now.
don't be scared.
Just
Don't be scared. This is a happy place. I will say, I mean, I alluded to the fact that Australia is a connection for you, not only from Ticket to Paradise, but apple cider vinegar, which we never got a chance to catch up on, but was an exceptional performance, an amazing and weirdly a through line connective. I mean, you could argue this is the year of Kaitlyn Dever playing these kind of questionably morally ambiguous hero anti-heroes. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you're asking your
hero,
agents to pursue.
anti-hero. I said hero, anti-hero. That's the year
Yeah,
of
this is
2024, 2025. Just
But
want to
it,
play questionable.
but
No,
it
it just
must
sort of
feel,
happened.
yeah,
Like, what happened?
you must take a certain satisfaction. I know you've talked a lot about, just from a purely technical standpoint, the accent, insane. And also, not to mention, like when I was watching it with my wife, I was like looking at all the other actors. I'm like, I think she's the only non-Australian. Like, that's ballsy to be like in the middle of it, having to do that accent where everyone else is like, um, so
Ah,
do you feel a little bit of achievement unlocked between apple cider vinegar and the challenges of The Last of Us these last two gigs?
yeah, I certainly do. I feel like it definitely feels like uh, both of these, both The Last of Us and apple cider vinegar. I feel like I've yeah tapped into like maybe another level of intensity, and um, I think that that is something I've always, I want to continue. I think I've told you this on a past pod, but just like, you know, I'm always wanting to challenge myself. And so the fact that I was able to do two very intense shows where I was really using like a whole, like totally different muscles, like within the same year, is really just like, yeah, I feel so lucky. I was truly shocked when the team at Seesaw and with apple cider vinegar came to me with this role. I thought that they sent it to the wrong person. I thought that sent it to the wrong email. I genuinely thought like, okay, I don't understand. I've never done like it's always been like for every role that I've ever done, it's always been, well, you haven't done that thing before, so you can't get this role because you haven't done the thing before.
Right.
So I'm like, I've never even attempted to do an Australian accent. I remember Billy Lord when we were doing Ticket to Paradise, she would always like tap into her. She's very good at doing the accent too. I was too like I couldn't. I was never doing it with her. And she's like, when she saw the show, she's like, why didn't you ever do the Aussie accent with me? Because I didn't know how at the time. But no, it was such a challenge, and yes, it was so scary to be the only American on the job. Like, I think that's why I was the most nervous
Yeah.
because I just know everyone's gonna be judging. I knew. I started learning the accent probably like 3 months before I actually started shooting, and oh my god, I everyone's gonna be listening to
Yeah.
every single little thing. And I think I don't know how I really don't know how I got through it, but I know that like I had an like amazing dialect coach. Her name is Jenny Kent. She was with me every single day, and that's how I got through it. And then I was just like super like hard on myself, and I think because I don't know. I just heard everything that I did wrong for each like take that we did. I could only hear what I did wrong. And so um she like we would go in a little corner and we'd go over, like little tiny words within sentences, and um I just wanted to perfect it because it was just like I just felt like it was a huge responsibility, and uh, I felt like I needed to get it right. I really didn't want to mess it up.
You you definitely did not. And beyond just the accent, it's just yeah, a remarkable performance. And you told me
Oh,
before,
thank
I remember
you.
on the last pod that auditions are always terrifying. The good news is it sounds like from these like latest roles, a little bit less auditioning. They're just saying, you can do this, we want you to do this. What was the last, have you had any terrifying auditions in the last 6 months or year that have traumatized you?
Mm, actually, no, I haven't. Um, oh gosh, I've been like wanting. You know what? I was like, I hate audition, and then I've been really kind of like craving an audition
You're
recently. I
masochist,
think
yeah.
between I think between the strike and then doing like once you're actually shooting
Right.
something, you don't get auditions. And so like from, you know, yeah, I feel like it's just worked out like timing wise, I haven't gotten an audition because I was shooting Apple Cider and then I was shooting The Last of Us and then I kind of took a little like break. But I do kind of like I want to go back and like actually go into an audition room, like not do a Zoom audition. I want to go
Right.
like in to audition. I
Do you
miss
want,
those nerves. I
do we
miss
do
how
I was gonna say, should we manifest a Christopher Nolan audition, a Quentin Tarantino audition? You want in the room with Greta? Who do you want to get in the room with?
I definitely want to get into the room with Greta, Quentin. Yeah, I'd say both of those.
You'll take.
Honestly, like I'll take any audition, honestly, at this point.
Fair enough. I do think like you're after the roles we've discussed, maybe it's time for another musical, another light Ticket to Paradise, something a bit of a palate cleanser, just for your own. We want you to just enjoy life.
You know, I was just realizing that the other day, like how I've only done pretty intense and sad things for the last few years, and I would like to do a comedy soon.
Yeah.
Don't know what that'll be, but it'd be nice.
I heard you mention you saw O'Mary here. I saw too. Unbelievable, right? Is theater in New York on the list? Come on, Caitlin.
I mean,
Come to my
I
neck of the
know.
woods. Do it.
I would I would love that. I was actually living in New York for like 2 or 3 months just once I finished The Last of Us officially, which was like in August or something. Um, I took myself to New York just to sort of like not do anything, not work, and just literally live there. And I saw Oh Mary, yeah, 3 times.
I
I
saw it with
was
Betty Gilpin, who was amazing. I didn't see it with Cole. And I know that's
I mean,
yeah,
Betty, I'm sure was incredible, but
yeah,
Cole
yeah.
is
For
just
sure.
like a whole other experience.
Right.
I've never seen anything like it. I'm obsessed. And they're back on,
I know.
I
I know.
believe.
Yeah,
You gotta
that's true.
go.
I know. I will. I
You
will.
have to go.
I will. I'm seeing a lot of theater. It's Tony season, so I'm catching up with everything right now. Yeah, there's a lot of really
So
amazing
fun.
stuff. Okay, we're gonna end with this. I'm gonna let you go to battle
Okay.
Godzilla and King Kong. Before we do that, the happy, sad, confused, profoundly random questions. Caitlin, you ready? Here we go.
Okay.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Say it proud. Don't
Should I?
apologize. No, no, you don't have to
No,
elaborate if you don't want
I'm
to.
just,
It's okay.
no, I was sort of eye rolling at cats.
Oh wow, cat hate.
I'm sorry.
No, I don't care.
You
I don't
have
have
a
a cat.
dog. Do you also have
Yeah,
a cat? Okay.
no,
Right,
no, I'm
right,
not.
right.
I'm not a cat person. You're in a safe place. Don't worry. It's okay.
Yeah. Do I need to elaborate?
No, you're okay.
Like, are these questions? Is
You've
just this
already
like rapid
alienated the
fire?
cat lobby. You've already destroyed your career. Don't worry. Um, what do you collect,
I'm
if
sorry.
anything?
Um, okay. Uh, it used to be snow globes.
Okay.
Or no, first it was Beanie Babies, then it was snow globes, then it was like vintage concert tees.
Nice.
And then, which I still collect those, but now it's like sconces and small lamps.
You're a woman of refined taste. You've gone from, yeah, like, I'm a hip early 20s bands, and now it's like, that lamp would go nicely over there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like them
Very
when they've got a
decorating.
little switch on them. Anyway,
Okay.
all
Okay.
right.
Favorite video game of all time?
Last of Us.
Yeah, yeah, I got it. You got to go.
Yeah.
Um, this is the Dakota Johnson memorial question. She asked me this provocative question. Would you rather have a mouthful of bees or one bee in your butt?
I think one bee in my butt.
Yeah, yeah. That's the conventional wisdom.
I
That's
don't
correct.
want, I don't like bugs in general. I mean, I love bees. I always want to,
Good for the
I
planet.
do love
Great.
bees. I actually haven't, knock on wood, I haven't actually technically been stung by one. I only got stung by a bee because I accidentally stepped on one and the stinger, I didn't end up killing well, the stinger went in me. So I guess, yeah, but
The circle of life. It's
I
okay.
haven't, but no, I definitely don't want a mouthful of bees. That'd be
No,
crazy.
don't worry. We're not going to make that happen. What's the wallpaper on your phone?
Want to see it?
Yeah.
That's my family, my
Aw,
mom, my two sisters, my dad.
the sweetest. Love it. Love it. Last actor you were mistaken for?
It's always, it's yeah, it's Julia Garner. We're always, yeah, we look very similar. I love Julia. She's amazing. She's an incredible actor.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
you were
Julia
great.
Garner was the
You
last
were
one.
great in Ozark. You were amazing in that. I was going to mention.
Thank you. Thank you. I worked so hard. I won Emmys. It was what a thrill.
Worst note a director has ever given you.
Oh, worst note. Just like act like a girl.
What does
Not
that
great.
mean? No, not great.
Exactly. What does that mean?
What did you say? Did you just kind of?
I was young and I was just
Yeah.
like, I was like early 20s. I was like, okay, thank you.
I'm
It
going to
was
mention.
just,
Yeah. Yeah. You took it in and then said, you know what? In about 6 years, I'm going to mention you on a podcast. So.
Exactly.
And finally, in the spirit of happy, sad, confused, an actor who always makes you happy.
Honestly, it's Pedro.
That's a good answer.
Just seeing him
Yeah.
in interviews, seeing him
Yeah.
in film and TV, it just brings a smile to my face.
A movie that always makes you sad.
Mm, mm. Oh, now uh, the Titanic.
After all that, you went deep. You went all the way 97. Okay, cool. I mean, it's a classic. Yeah, it should. It's a very sad
I
movie.
stay away from it because it's so sad.
Poor Jack.
I rarely watch it. I've only seen it a few times.
And
Oh God.
a food that makes you confused. This is the final one. Food that makes you confused.
Okay, eggplant, because sometimes, like, why is it good sometimes?
Right. You know,
Why?
you're not the first. It's a Barry Keoghan also went eggplant. So you share maybe great actors of your generation hate eggplant, apparently.
I'm a big fan of his. I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on with the eggplant. Can't really get to the bottom of that.
Right. Well, we'll continue
But
that.
anyway.
We'll continue that on the next chat. To be continued. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for taking the time away from your busy set out there, and thank you for being so open. And I know this kind of conversation that's a lot to talk about, and thank you just for the
No,
open,
of course.
emotional honesty, and congrats, honestly, on both of these performances. Apple Cider Vinegar, that's on Netflix, and The Last of Us is extraordinary. I've gotten a sneak peek at a bunch of episodes, so congratulations, and on to season 3. Here we go.
Here we go. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, anytime.
And so ends another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Remember to review, rate, and subscribe to this show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm a big podcast person. I'm Daisy Ridley, and I definitely wasn't pressured to do this by Josh.